Alright fellas, here we are back in Pokemon Masters, and here we're talking about this triple feature PokeFair Scout here. This time is the Tech EX Rolled banner, where we got Polymer Classic Blue, finally, and Signature Lysandre. So, this banner is going to be dropping tomorrow. This time I'm actually recording it on the day that is actually where this banner drops tomorrow, on the 27th. Anyway. So, we're going to be looking at the banner here. Again, same caveat as the last banner, if you did not know. This banner is not a Select Scout. It's got a normal, a normal banner where you spend 3,000 gems for a multi, for 300 for a single, regular scout points, regular rates, all that good stuff. But there's a paid gem version of this banner that is 5,000 paid gems for a single summon. Well, not a single summon, but for 5,000 gems one time will get you 25 units. And also a Tech EX roll cake in this banner's instance. The banner is not a Select Scout, it is nothing like that, it is literally just a 25 unit multi that will give you an EX roll, or a roll cake, right, for 5,000 paid gems. You have a chance to pull nothing, you have a chance to pull something. Just regular rates. If you think that's not worth it, then you would be right, unless you're a whale. So anyway, whatever. We're going to be going ahead and looking at these sync pairs here and seeing, I guess, what the overall value of the banner is. And honestly, it's pretty damn good, realistically speaking. Lysandre's still a really good striker. Palmer's an amazing striker. They're both amazing. Classic Blue is honestly pretty solid with his upgrades as well, and he's still pretty good in general. So that's nice. I guess we'll look at Blue first. I didn't mean to, but I filtered out to Rock, so why not? So, Classic Blue and Eriott. They're a striker sync pair. They are Rock type, of course. They can Mega Evolve. Looking at their 6-star X stats, he's got 396 special attack, 376 attack, 440 speed, 178 defenses, 702 health. When he Mega Evolves, his offenses go up to 375 special attack and 475 special attack and 451 physical attack. So, special attack is definitely still better, and he does make abuse of Hyper Beam. He has Hyper Beam, and before Mega Evolving, he's got Ancient Power. When he Mega Evolves, his Dire Hit All Plus turns into Double Edge. So he's got himself a good physical and a good special option for dealing damage. I guess it's nice to have the option, but realistically, Hyper Beam is always better. But the only real issue is that in Stadium specifically, you've obviously got to select special damage reduction or physical damage reduction, which could be annoying for parameters. So having the option there is nice. And of course, any enemies, they may have Wise Entry or Sentry Entry, especially like battle challenges, ultimate battle, not ultimate battles, I guess ultimate battles too. They've got their weird stat gimmicks as well, and also extreme battles, right? So they could be helpful for that. As stated, he does have Dire Hit All Plus, which maxes ally crit. So he's being a striker, he can still max ally crit. Very at this point, it's not a very unique ability. It's not as crazy as, well, it wasn't really crazy before, but this was definitely unexpected to have him be able to support crit as a striker back when he released in 2021. But nowadays we have other characters like Special Costume Eriott who can do that as well. So it's not as crazy of an ability, but it is still good, right? So he can apply crit support to himself and allies. He's also got his trainer move, which raises his attack and special attack by 3, lowers both of his defenses by 1, and if Eriott is Mega Evolved, it raises speed by 3. Pretty decent in general. Nice offensive buffing ability. Defense debuffing is, of course, not great, but can be mitigated by some defense buffs, as usual. And in his passive skills, he's got Rock Shift to turn Double Edge and Hyper Beam into Rock moves. Combo Freebie 2 to have the 30% chance to apply free moves next, because Hyper Beam is, of course, a little bit gauge heavy. And Endurance, applying Endurance on entry with full HP. Just nice for some general tanking. Could be useful to survive a KOing attack, a straight AoE move, because his defenses are not the greatest. And, of course, he lowers his own defenses, so you got to be kind of careful there. And Mega Evolving, his Endurance goes to Recoil Removal 9, just so you get rid of that Double Edge recoil. Very generic, very basic, still very good. I don't know why his combo freebie really, because his speed is really good, but I mean, sure, hey, it's cool, that's fine with me. And Ancient Power is mostly fodder, let's be honest, you're mostly not going to be utilizing this. With a Tech EX roll, Blue's stats do go up a good bit. He goes up to above 400 special attack prior to Mega Evolving, and of course that will be multiplicative of an increase for his special attack. It will not be a base plus 20 for Mega Evolve stats, so this is very likely going to be over 500 special attack by a decent margin, maybe around 510, 515 range, and attack will also be going from 376 to 396, and then again, more multiplicative attack increase. You can probably expect around a 480, 490 attack stat as well. So he's going to have very good offenses post Tech EX roll, and of course that does apply a boost to his sync move damage. So let's look at his grid. Look at the grid, he's got nothing, pretty much here, 1 out of 5. 2 out of 5 has some sync nodes, First Aid 4, Super Duper Effective 2 on Double Edge, Swag Bag, I guess, on Ancient Power if you really want to get the stat buffs from it for whatever reason that may be. It can help raise your defenses after debuffing them, but that is not anywhere near worth it. I mean, why would you want to do that instead of just going for damage? And Sharp Entry 1 to buff his crit, meaning you don't have to go for the Dire Hit All Plus a second time, or bring a crit support. So that's nice. Mostly it though, I mean, his 2 out of 5 is not crazy either. First Aid 4 just for a little bit of healing, again, mostly because of those low defenses. That's really it. And then 3 out of 5 he gets Propulsion 1 on Hyper Beam, Critical Strike 1, Sync Move, more Sync Nodes, Soften Up 1, Head Start 1, Haymaker, and Surging Sand 1. All decent stuff, I guess. I don't know why they're so keen on giving him just one 10% multipliers here. Critical Strike 1, Surging Sand 1, I don't see the reason there, but hey, sure. He also does have Head Start 1, Sharp Entry 1, Soften Up 1, Propulsion 1. Why has he got Swag Bag 1? He's got a lot of ones. I guess he's aiming for the top, right? I guess that probably is the theme, honestly. You know, he's trying to be number 1. Boy, in this instance, I think he would like some 9s in here. Anyway. So the multipliers are fine. The Critical Strike 1, Surging Sand 1. I don't think it's worth trying to run him in Sand just for the 10% multiplier. So that does take away a bit of team building restrictions. So that's fine. Don't really need to worry about that. Though we can probably work pretty well with Neo Champion Silver. They probably work out just fine. Both being rock. Probably works fine with Emmett, Paolo. You know. So if you do want to make use of Surging Sand, then there are some good Sand allies he can be partnered up with. Propulsion 1 on Hyper Beam is pretty good. 20% chance to reduce. Why the fuck can't I speak today? Granted, it's early. It's before 9 o'clock. 20% chance to reduce sync countdown, so that's pretty good as well. This does allow for a little bit more sync ramping in the team composition, simply because you can try and rely on Hyper Beam to give you at least a little bit of sync countdown over the course of a few turns. Propulsion 1, in my opinion, is always pretty strong of an ability, simply for the fact that it can always proc. It doesn't proc only one time, it can proc as many times as you need it to, but of course you do have to land a 20% chance, which, even though landing 20% chance is not that great, landing a 20% chance one time can be very impactful. So, high risk, very high reward, I guess. First Aid 4, yeah, Soften Up 1, making crits easier on the sync move, that is relatively helpful, especially because his grid doesn't have much else. The sync nodes are definitely nice for powering up his sync nuke. Head Start 1, Haymaker. Haymaker's very good as well, actually a nuking multiplier. If I were to build blue, it'd probably be for something like this. If I were to guess. Maybe sacrifice that, I'm not too sure. Let's see. I don't know, I probably want to build something like this if I had the energy to. If at all applicable, yeah. If I had blue at like 5 out of 5 or something, maybe a grid like this would be good. I don't know. I don't use this guy. I don't have him at all. Either way, you definitely want to build for Haymaker, and in my opinion, you do want to build for Propulsion and Critical Strike 1. Or not Critical Strike 1, but just really Propulsion. So probably sacrifice down that. You can probably just sacrifice the Critical Strike 1. That's fine. Not really a big issue. Just run Critical Strike 2 as a lucky skill. It's fine. I think Blue's biggest problem is that he really just does lack multipliers for his DPS. Hyper Beam, of course, is still good for damage, but you still do want a DPS option. Surging Sand 2 and Critical Strike 1 are nice, but not really too sufficient. And of course, you are sacrificing other tiles in order to even be able to pick up those nodes. So there is some caveats there. And of course, Double Edge has that similar problem. Just it's nowhere near as strong as Hyper Beam. Also, he did get his grid expanded, which he definitely did need. I don't think he got anything too crazy. He got Unflappable for 2 out of 5, Clear-Headed for 2 out of 5, Piercing Gaze for having his moves never miss, though they have a pretty low chance of missing in general, so it's fine, I guess, for hitting enemies that have evasion buffs or accuracy, or you have accuracy debuffs, whatever, but still not that crazy. Lowering enemy defense and special defense by 1 when his attack move is successful. This is probably his best ability. At 5 out of 5, it's like defense crush on Emmett, but a little bit better. Being able to deal with both defenses is nice as well. Also, his Mixed Scout got this same ability, I think, in his Neo Blast Burn innate, so that's funny. But I mean, sure, this does allow him to do a little bit more damage, being able to debuff defense and special defense. Depends where it is on the grid, though, but of course you should be able to pick it up without too much issue, but it will, of course, probably force you to sacrifice some things like propulsion, maybe, or some other things, so that can be a little bit annoying, but it is there. Impervious to prevent stat debuffs, that's useful for preventing the debuffs on his trainer move, and of course enemy debuffs and power combo on the trainer move, increasing physical and special moves next when the move is successful, just more physical and special moves next, which I don't think is that impactful, nor really that worth picking up, simply because of the energy costs, for the fact that you're going to be using that move probably turn 2 or something, or post-sync or something, I don't know. I think the one little bit of burst damage that you get out of Hyper Beam or Double Edge is not really worth it compared to other tiles you could pick up, like debuffing enemy defenses, or even going for like propulsion, or even more sync nodes or something like that. Whatever it is, I don't think that the tile is that impactful, but it's still an option. I could be wrong either way. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I would say Blue's not that fantastic, even with the Tech EX roll. It really just depends how you build his grid, because as you've seen, his grid is very, very wonky. Like, I'm not really too sure how to build his grid in general. For like, I guess I could do this, right? We could get 5 sync nodes. His sync's at 301 power. I think if we multiply, I think Tech EX roll multiplies after the fact, so 450 base power sync move with the Tech EX roll plus Haymaker. That's gonna be pretty decent damage, especially off of his pretty decent offensive stats as well. So that's not too shabby. That's definitely not too shabby. But I mean, either way, I think he's still fine regardless. He's definitely got a better rock nuke than Emmett. Yeah, and of course you do want to sync with him anyway in order to get the Mega Evolution off of the stat buffs, and I guess Double Edge if you're doing physical damage. Really just depends, honestly. I don't think Blue is a crazy rock striker anymore. He's definitely aged quite a bit, but I mean, he's still pretty solid in general, especially if you're willing to invest into him. He'll be fine. He'll do fine. There's nothing really preventing him from functioning, so to say. So he's a fine striker still. I guess we'll move on to Palmer. Palmer already has his EX roll of Tech. He got it when he debuted, so this banner is pretty much just a free Palmer rerun. Not really any boosts for him going on there. Either way, so his big thing is that he is a big off-type boy, because that's all he can do. 376 attack, 200 in the defenses, 789 health, 37 speed. EX roll does help his offense a bit, getting nearly 400 attack. Level 150 does propel him above 400, so he can be pretty nice in the offensive department. Defenses are pretty solid. HP is definitely increasing a ton. Speed's fine. So he's got pretty good stats overall. He is a normal type striker, which in base is pretty unappealing, but if you look at Palmer's abilities, they're pretty good. He's got Crush Grip, which is a 4-gauge move that does less damage the lower the enemy's HP is. This is very good for like a big bit of burst damage to like start out with. Like, you just smack the enemy with Crush Grip, they take like half their health or something, and then afterwards the damage really starts to mitigate from there because of how Crush Grip functions. I know that there was an announcement back when Palmer released on what his abilities were. I could probably find, yeah, Crush Grip here. Full power is at 100% power, so the base power it is. 50% HP, the move is at 70%. Below 33% HP or more, he's got 40% the power, and then less than 33% HP is 20% total power. So if the enemy's below half, then you're going to be doing like 40% of what the base power of Crush Grip is, which is like 100 and something base power. So that's not that crazy, but I mean, it is going to mean that you're going to be getting some very solid burst damage to start out with, right, with that 310 base power move. He's got Normal Wish to set Normal Zone. He's still our only Normal Zone setter. We do need a Normal Zone support. That would be very good because, as it is, Palmer kind of hates having to alternate between setting Normal Zone and using his moves. So that's a little bit annoying. But either way, it's still good. It's a good way to get him a power buff. He's got himself G-Giga Impact, which is his buddy move. It's a 4-gauge one-use move for 480 power, which lowers enemy defense by 6 and restores his HP by 50%. This is definitely good for sure, but generally when you're hitting with the enemy with G-Giga Impact, this defense debuff isn't going to matter too much because the enemy tends to stop existing. They tend to go down pretty damned easily just from this attack. And if they don't go down, then they're like probably 20% health, 10% health, something like that, in which case your next Crush Grip kind of hits like a feather. But, I mean, the defense debuffs are going to mitigate that. You're still going to KO them. It's not going to be that big of a problem. But you do really want to look out for that. And again, restoring HP, definitely nice. And his trainer move, which raises his attack by 3, crit by 2, and physical moves next by 1. Very solid trainer move. Just a bunch of free stuff. Very good self-sufficiency. Looking at his passes, he's got Sync Buff and Hit, Physical Boost 3-9, 100% chance to increase physical moves next by 3 when his attack move is successful while the team has a Sync Buff. This effectively means after, you know, Support EX or Striker EX, Tech EX, whatever you've got, whatever you're going to use with Palmer or Palmer's allies, you're going to be getting that Sync Buff, and then every attack with Palmer will be giving 3 physical moves next, which means Crush Grip, despite the power it's going to be losing from going, you know, below full HP, below half HP, whatever, you're going to be getting plus 3 physical moves next to try and remedy that damage. And of course, it will still be hitting very hard early on, especially. He's also got himself Sync Freebie, free moves next after using the Sync move, and then Max move, free moves next, applying free moves next after using the Max move, which he does have too. So, more free moves next, very good. He's not the fastest unit, and he's got a bunch of 4-gauge moves, so free moves next is very, very nice for him. He's got Max Strike, which lowers all enemy speed by 2, and he's got it's a 550 base power move, so it is a very nuclear move, very similar to that of Giga Impact. Very good. Palmer has very good methods of KOing enemies who are potentially hanging on by a thread by not relying on Crush Grip. So he's definitely good in that aspect for sure. Only thing is that he's pretty slow. Also, his Sync move has an increased power, I believe. Yeah, he's got an, I think so anyway, from, I think, a maximum of 300 to 360. Being a normal type, they wanted to boost him a bit, and Tech EX does reflect that as well, giving him a 540 base power Sync move, which is the same base power as his Max moves, which is very nice for sure. So that's awesome. In base, I don't think Palmer is, like, absurdly strong. I have utilized Palmer off-type, obviously, that's all you can do, at 1 out of 5 6-star X, and he does fine. He definitely does fine for sure, but I don't think he's crazy. I don't think he's super crazy, but he still does work very well. And he still is a good buff for other normal types as well. Holiday Whitney's Nuke is viable. She's got Terrain Sync up as well as Interference Sync and her innate multiplier here, meaning her Sync Nuke is actually going to look pretty good under Palmer, especially because she also has an actual offensive stat, 444 attack. She's going to have a very good nuke under Palmer's normal zone. Special Costume Steven, similarly so. He's got an innate multiplier of Relentless, and he's got Restraining Sync up 9, so he can also do a nuke, surprisingly, while also being able to support Palmer with defensive debuffs as well as physical moves next from his trainer move, and speed buffs as well, so that's nice of an assistant. And also, he can help Eve. I'm mostly joking, but yeah, you can buff Eve. You can definitely buff Eve, sure. And Hugh's obviously one of the biggest partners as well. Having an actual DPS option for normal type damage, a little bit gimmicky, right? You know, that 50% chance to fucking destroy yourself is not fun, but he will be getting a great power buff under Palmer. Definitely will be pretty reliable for short stages. And he's also, of course, got the nuke with Haymaker and Sync Power Flux. So, quite a few normal types are actually powered up directly under Palmer. Not really you. Whitney as well. Regular Whitney as well is also powered up quite a bit. So his supportive abilities with normal zone are pretty decent. Not like fantastic or uber amazing, but still good. And he can still do some good damage himself. In the grid, he's got nothing at 1 out of 5. 2 out of 5, he gets Chase Down 1, the Sync nodes, some HP recovery on normal zone, Gauge Acceleration on normal zone, Slow Opponent Sync 2, Catalyst, mostly some abilities to help out with Gauge and a little bit of self-sufficiency with like healing and whatnot, and then some very minor power-based things. A 20% Sync Nuke multiplier, Gauge Acceleration, +2 Sync nodes, and Chase Down is a 10% multiplier. It does need speed buffs, which means that you want to use the Max move to get that speed buff, speed debuff, so that your moves are powered up, your DPS and Sync moves, but still, that's fine. I mean, this isn't really that crazy of a multiplier anyway. It's not really worth getting Palmer to 2 out of 5 just for this. It's a very minor buff in general. Catalyst is nice though. Gauge Acceleration is always helpful. 3 out of 5 gets Furious Brawn, Max Slip Up, more Sync nodes, Haymaker, Combo Freebie, Max Countdown, Normal Zone NPR, Max Strike Power Up, and I guess Crush Grip Move Gauge Refresh. Sure, buddy. Sure, I'd rather just pick up this, though. So Furious Brawn, and plus Chase Down, you got yourself 40% in total DPS multipliers here. That's going to be good for Crush Grip and Giga Impact. He's now got Haymaker as well, on top of Slowpoke Sync 2. You got yourself 120% in nuking multipliers, on top of his very strong EX roll. EX roll boosted Sync move here. At 3 out of 5, 430 base power is quite good, plus Critical Strike 2 as a lucky skill. He's got some relatively decent multipliers for his nuking options. Definitely nice. Combo freebie for self-sufficiency, if you do really, gauge sufficiency rather, if you do need that and it's, gauge is a problem for you, this could be helpful. Max slip up 2 for even more speed debuffs, just to ensure that the enemy's speed is debuffed. I would probably stray away from selecting these abilities because, while Max Strike power up is very nice, I think his Furious Brawn and Haymaker are a bit more worth picking up, and also Sync Nodes as well, so I'll politely pass. Max Countdown 2 is also good, but he's not really that useful for sync ramping. It's just this kind of mitigates him using a max move and losing out on sync countdown. So this does help out in that front, but I don't think it's all that worth it. A normal zone NPR is not really great for short battles, pretty good for longer battles, but I don't know where you're really going to use him in longer battles, simply for the fact I don't think Palmer's that great for any ultimate battles, because they are way too strong for you to be reliably off-typing. And while Palmer is good off-type, he's not the best off-type. So, like, even a lot of off-typing teams that go against ultimate battles, those are simply units that off-type better than Palmer. That's all there is. And normal zone, yeah, again, normal zone NPR, it could be good for longer battles, but really also Palmer does not want to spend much time setting normal zone anyway, so really he's kind of hindering himself in that front. Just using it in shorter battles is not that detrimental, but potentially having to go from normal zone, Crush Grip, normal zone, Crush Grip, it could be ending up middling your DPS later on. Minus 10 energy already. At this point, you're probably just got to sacrifice like Catalyst or Haymaker, maybe. I don't know. Depends on what you want to pick. Something like that, maybe. I don't know. Probably just get rid of Chase Down, realistically speaking. You can probably pick up something like this. If you do have Palmer at 4 out of 5, then you can pick up another Sync Node here. Something like this is probably fine, I guess. I would, yeah, it's, that's fine. Yeah, you can go with that if you don't care for the gauge refresh on Crush Grip. I would probably pick up Slowpoke Sync 2 just for the easier ability to get some nuking multipliers. Honestly, that's really my only reasoning. I mean, Palmer's fine. Palmer's definitely fine. Crush Grip, Furious Brawn, plus the Chase Down if you do pick it up, and the Critical Strike 2 as a lucky skill. It's going to be doing some good damage. Giga Impact is a nuke. Max Strike is a nuke. His sync nuke can be pretty much a nuke. Alright, so hey, that's fine. He's got some pretty good power behind him. Definitely gimmicky, right, with the Crush Grip and how that works, and the fact it takes 5 moves in order to actually unlock Giga Impact, so it's more of a late game battle thing. Of course, that stuff can be a little bit annoying, but hey, take what you can get, I guess. Still good, though, for sure. And 4 out of 5, you get Impervious and Mighty Command. Mighty Command's not that crazy, I mean, especially with everything else you already have to pick up, and Palmer's Grid is not very friendly in terms of placement. I guess something like this could function just as well. You get some physical moves next for using the trainer move and normal zone. Definitely can help make up the damage because, of course, you're spending turns setting up normal zone, so getting a physical moves next back from it could be helpful. And, of course, that might just be better than going for, like, Catalyst, and then you can also pick up Combo Freebie and still help out with Gauge and not go over your energy cap if you are willing to invest in Palmer's Grid. Also, this does require a 5 out of 5 Palmer to realistically pick up, so whoops. Guess you'd have to probably sacrifice a Sync Node or something. Yeah, you can just sacrifice a Sync Node. That's my bad. I'll call my bad on that one. Alright. You can sacrifice a Sync Node and just go for 4 energy. That's fine. And of course, if you do give him 5 out of 5, you can pick up another one. 5 out of 5, he gets Soften Up 1 and Sync defense down on all the enemies. This is useful in case you are trying to get extra defensive debuffs without having to worry about using Giga Impact, because again, Giga Impact is more likely going to kill the enemy than actually be effective enough to simply debuff their stats and not KO them. Don't know why you would want it to not KO anyway. So this can be helpful for just empowering these moves in general, ensuring Giga Impact's kill, ensuring Crush Grip's damage, and etc. And Impervious is just generally useful, I guess, for preventing stat debuffs, but really that depends situation to situation. Can be helpful, doesn't have to be used, yada yada. And again, you can pick up a Sync Node now, that's very nice. I would say this is probably the best grid to go for Palmer? Probably. You do want to, of course, again, in my opinion, you do want to build for his nuke. You don't necessarily have to build for his nuke. You can build for maybe using a support EX or having another nuker like, again, Holiday Whitney or maybe Special Costume Steven, and you could build something else from that, which means that probably just pick up like Mighty Command, Sync Defense down all. Well, that would be after the sync move, right? So again, that is not really that impactful. Or not really that viable. Maybe go for the max strike damage up, right? That could be good. And then potentially just go figure out the rest, right? Maybe chase down just for the extra damage. Combo freebie could be good. There's a few different ways you can build Palmer for just pure DPS or just non-nuking potential. That's fine. By the way, I mean, he's still a very good normal striker. Off-type alone, so they kind of did make him gimmicky for that. Regigigas is a very gimmicky mon. They could have made it very weak because of how Slow Start operates in the main series, but they could have also equally just made it. They could have also just made it really good, and well, they made it really good. But they did make it a little bit gimmicky. But hey, that comes with territory of being Regigigas. So yeah, Palmer, I'd still say, is still really strong. Does want some investment now to be like uber strong, but he'll cover pretty much like any off-type stadium battle or whatever, or even like legendary arenas, assuming you have partners. He'll be fine in that area. Okay, and now we'll finish off, I guess, with Cygnus Suit Lysandre, who is getting the Tech EX roll, as previously stated. So Lysandre with 6 stats, he's got 460 special attack, 440 attack for no reason, 379, nope, that'd be really bad health, 795 health, 196 defense, 179 special defense, 341 speed, and then with the X roll, of course, he's going to get up to 480 special attack, some better defenses, over 200 defense, as well as nearly 200 special defense, and like, what, 850 some health. That's definitely very nice as well. So he's going to be good in the stats department for sure from that EX roll. Definitely going to be pretty good. And of course, he does get the sync power increase, which is good because he has a pretty solid sync nuke, all things considered. Going to just 1 out of 5, he's got Steam Eruption, 4-gauge move, 157 base power with a 30% chance to burn the enemy. Heat Wave for 3-gauge move, AoE damage, has a 10% chance to leave the enemy burned, split between multiple enemies. He does have Heat Hydro Pump here, 3-gauge move, 1 use. Activation condition is when there's a burned opponent, and deactivation condition is when the move is used, or when there's no burned opponent. The power of the move is not lowered even if there are multiple targets, applies super effective next to the user, applies for moves next to the user, and increases special moves next by the number of stat ranks equal to the number of burned Pokemon on the opponent's field of play. And it is, again, 250 base power. This is a pretty nuclear buddy move for sure. It is AoE. That's pretty damn strong, and it is basically you want to burn all the enemies, use Heat Hydro Pump, get yourself that +3 special moves next from utilizing it, and then get yourself a +3 special moves next boosted Steam Eruption. Pretty good. And he's also got his trainer move, Blazing Belief, which raises accuracy by 1, crit by 3, and applies free moves next. He is not really the best engaged, so being able to get all the free moves next from his Steam Eruption and Buddy move is pretty helpful. In his passive skills, he's got Grand Entry 4, so that increases his special attack buffing ability, makes him very self-sufficient in that area. Just needs +2 special attack to be maxed out. Searing Surge 5, which powers up moves and sync moves when the enemy is burned. 50% DPS and Snake Nuke multiplier all off the bat. And then Hostile Environment 3, which is a 120% chance to burn on Steam Eruption, so guaranteed. And I think, yeah, 40% chance to burn on Heat Wave, but that is also still split between multiple enemies, so that is a little bit annoying. Either way, this makes you have guaranteed burns on Steam Eruption, which then gives you, obviously, the 50% power increase when attacking burned enemies. Burning all the enemies will then result in Heat Hydro Pump having a 50% multiplier against all enemies, and that will, of course, give you that +3 special moves next, on top of the 50% multiplier here, plus Critical Strike 2 or Weathered Warrior, right? So 70 to 80% in DPS multipliers, which means your Steam Eruptions are going to be doing a lot of good damage. And he's still got a 50% or up to 80% multiplier for his Sync Nuke as well, which with the Tech EX roll investment, that should put his Sync Nuke at what, 372 base power or something like that. There's 375 base power. That's pretty good. That's definitely very good power for sure. So you got yourself some very nuclear energy coming from Lysandre, even just at 1 out of 5, which is nice. And he's obviously a water type unit that gains a lot of benefits from just all the good water partners that are currently available, right? Like Signature Chris, Neo Champion Serena, Neo Champion Calum, right? You know, the Frogs and Lysandre is a is a very fun team, a very practically strong team as well, for like Champion Stadium and whatnot, any area that you can realistically use it. That team is very synergistic and very strong, and of course Dahlia with her rebuff and special defense debuffs. Lysandre's got a ton of partners from just being water type that help him out a ton in being able to do extra damage, and of course just making a very strong water core. Of course, not the best water core, but still, if you do like Lysandre, and he's still like fourth or fifth probably best water type unit, and in terms of striker, I would say striker just specifically, Lysandre's probably still the best. Just that the other techs are fucking absurd, but whatever. I digress. Lysandre is still extremely, extremely strong. 2-gauge move, he's got Burning Synergy 1, Burn Synergy 1, Scorching Sink 2, Raging Rain 2, Water Guard, I guess, Training with NPR, Racing Rain, mostly this stuff. This is honestly not bad for 2 out of 5. You get yourself 30% in DPS multipliers with Raging Rain and Burn Synergy, and a 20% nuke multiplier with Scorching Sink. This does give you a total of 80% in multipliers for DPS, and then again another 20 to 30% for Critical Strike 2 or Weathered Warrior 3 as a lucky skill, for up to 110% in DPS multipliers, as well as up to 100% in Sync nuke multipliers. That's really solid. That is very solid for sure. So even just at 2 out of 5, Lysandre is actually getting some pretty notable buffs, all things considered. So that's actually really nice. And again, Tech EX roll on top of all that. And then 3 out of 5, he gets obviously a lot of his best things. Furious Brain, Burn Special Boost 2, Scorching Sink 9, Sync Move, the Sync nodes, as well as some other things like Scorching Touch on Heat Wave, Super Duper Effective 9 on Heat Wave, Trying to Move Ramp Up, Trying to Move Brain Gain, and a few other things. And also Adrenaline 1, so he does get that. I would say that obviously the Heat Wave stuff is mostly catered for doing fire-type damage. The Scorching Touch is nice to potentially burn all enemies in one go, but I think it may just be better to try and use Steam Eruption on all 3 enemies and then use the Hydro Pump, or just use Steam Eruption on 1 enemy and then use Hydro Pump afterwards and just miss out on the extra special moves next. I don't think it's worth trying to use the extra grid energy here, up to 10 energy, to try and go for a guaranteed AoE burn on Heat Wave. I don't personally think that is worth it, just in my opinion. Especially when he's got all of the extra stuff here, which I would say all of this is worth picking up here at 5 out of 5, or sorry, 3 out of 5. So if you do have a 3 out of 5 Lysandre and you're willing to invest the extra grid energy, I would recommend making this grid. Burn Special Boost 2 is a 30% chance to apply special moves next when attacking a burned opponent. So on top of all of the multipliers he already has, he can now just get free special moves next on top of it. Scorching Sink 9, a 90% multiplier on top of what we already said was about a 110%, 100% Sync Nuke multiplier with Searing Surge, Scorching Sink, and Weathered Warrior as a lucky skill. So yeah, Weathered Warrior 3, you got the 100% multipliers, and you've got 90% from Scorching Sink. That's 190% in total multipliers for his Sync Nuke at maximum. And for DPS, I mean, I honestly forgot at this point. Furious Brain is a 30% DPS multiplier for having maxed out special attack. 10% here, 20% here, 50% here, 30% from the lucky skill. What is that? I think 140% in total DPS multipliers. That's really insane, especially because you're easily able to spam Steam Eruption for 172 base power off of a 480 special attack stat if you do give him the EX roll, and 460 otherwise, right? So Lysandre's still got a very, very oppressive damage and nuking ability, and he's just still really good. He only requires burn, and he definitely wants rain, but with how abundant rain is, of course, with water type being as strong as it is, that's definitely not going to be any problem, right? And again, with his partners, Lysandre is going to be even more oppressive by having Signature Chris for rain, Archie for rain, May for rain, whoever you're going to bring for rain. Of course, there's always going to be better options. Dahlia as well for rain. New Champion Serena for -2 water rebuff. New Champion Calum is a good rain setter, right? So you've got yourself the potential special defense debuffs, the up to -2 or 3 water rebuff, the rain and whatnot, right? So he's going to have a lot of different ways for him to actually look really strong, even outside of having all of the multipliers that he already does have. Lysandre is really still really fucking strong. Definitely the best unit between these 3 for sure. Even just at 1 out of 5, 2 out of 5, and 3 out of 5, he is easily the best in each move level department. Really no competition. He also does have other things like Adrenaline 1 for some sync countdown, which is fine, but I don't think his best thing is to be ran on ramping setups, but it can work for sure if you do want to try to. Training move Ramp Up is good if you don't have a support for special attack, though realistically, most partners you would optimally run with him are going to be able to buff his special attack to max, so this is not really too worth it. Brain Gain is just +1 special moves next at the start of, pretty much effectively the start of battle. That's pretty useless to me. Not really that important. It gets diluted pretty quickly. 4 to 5, he gets Piercing Gaze and Sync Freebie. These are fine abilities, but nothing really insane either. Just, you know, again, evasion buffs, accuracy debuffs. These are very situational based abilities, and Sync Freebie, his gauge should be fine, but if it isn't, then I guess Free Moves Next can be helpful. Then 5 out of 5, he gets Burned Down, Attack and Special Defense 9, lowering enemy attack and special defense when attacking an enemy that is burned. This makes it self-sufficient for him to actually be able to damage enemies and debuff their special attack, or sorry, special defense. With the existence of Dahlia, assuming you may have pulled her, that's really not that relevant, and Serena is able to debuff special defense as well. But for shorter, faster battles, and of course, having just more self-sufficiency and being able to buff his own damage, having this ability is definitely good. What would I replace for it? That's a good question, bucko. I'm not too sure. Because you can't get rid of, I guess you're pretty much just got to get rid of Raging Rain. That's as sad as that is, you're probably just going to have to get rid of it. Or, yeah, you can't even get rid of Burn Synergy, right? So you probably just got to sacrifice the 20% multiplier for the chance to debuff special defense, which that will end up being more damage in the long run, assuming you don't have a special defense debuffer on the team. But if you have, like, again, Neo Champion Serena, Dahlia, or any special defense debuffer, like Variety Lyra even as well, then this is not really worth picking up. Raging Rain is just going to be better because he does not need to be having to debuff special defense for himself. It's not really that important. And then Super Sync 9, applying super effective next when using the sync move. I don't think he needs that. I think we've already established that he is extremely oppressive in his damage, that even on type battles, he is going to be fine. Though honestly, he is very shut down by Annabelle pretty much entirely, I think, because he misses out on all of his burn multipliers. I think, isn't Annabelle immune to burn? Actually, I don't know. Hold on, I can fact check that right now. I think Annabelle's immune to burn, but I might be wrong about that. Annabelle and Weavile, no. Annabelle and Entei, is she immune to burn? Let's see, Solar Ice, Charging Sun, Searing Surge. No, actually, she may not be immune to burn. I haven't checked it because my Lysandre is only 1 out of 5, so I haven't tried him against Annabelle. Well, either way, yeah, sure. If you can burn Annabelle, then he's going to be really good for that battle, too. Just depends on what partners you bring, for sure. Either way, I mean, he's great. You don't really need the super effective stuff. Even if, like, again, you're fighting a battle like Annabelle that is extremely hard water weak, super effective next is not going to be that important for your next move, unless maybe you're chaining your sync move into your Hydro Pump, in which case that could be pretty powerful. But outside of that, I don't think it's that important or that oppressive. But really, I guess that's just my opinion. I think everything else is really just far more valuable for him to try and pick up. But anyway, yeah, that's my thoughts on this banner with the Tech EX roll for all 3 of these strikers. All of them are pretty solid. Classic Blue is probably the worst of the 3, but I mean, he's still pretty good. He's still fine. If you're a Blue fan, you're going to be pretty happy, I guess, with his buffs, Tech EX roll, and the Grid expansion. And of course, Lysandre is still oppressive as always, and Palmer is still very strong as well. Kind of aged due to the stadium point increase, but other than that, he's still pretty good. And of course, Ultimate Battles existing definitely is not good for him, but still, he'll be fine. He's still strong. And also, Ultimate Battles didn't exactly help out Lysandre either, but still, he's still good. Can't really deny that. But whatever. That's all I gotta say. I'll see y'all later. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know if you're going to be summoning on the banner. Let me know if you're going to be pulling any of these guys. I hope to God you're not pulling on that very garbage banner with the roll cake for 5,000 paid gems, because that's probably going to end in disaster. You're very lucky if it does not, but whatever. I'll see y'all later. I hope you all enjoyed. Good luck on your summons, and good luck on your upgrades for these units. Later.